Hi, and welcome to this vocabulary lesson because we are going to look at synonyms, collocations in context, and words that belong in the word family. I hope you'll stick around with me every single day, learn these 3,000 words with me. Initially. So an initial is the first. Initial, my name is Zadie, and my first initial, so my name is Zadie, and my first initial is X. That's my first initial. Initial means the beginning or the first. Initially, as an adverb, often talks about, it will modify an adjective initially, or it can modify a verb too. Some synonyms are originally. I was initially from the West, now I live in the East. I was originally from the West, now I live in the East. Primarily, to start with, at first. These are some synonyms. Firstly, I chose this picture because before you can create a thing, you have to have the idea. So I initially had the idea for this channel. You know what? A student initially gave me the idea for this channel. Back in, I want to say 2021, I had a student who initially gave me the idea for this channel. He said, "Teacher, you should go on YouTube and teach your English on YouTube." That was the initial idea. I thought about it for a couple of years, and in 2024, I started this channel. I initially got the idea to start this channel from a student. So initially talks about the first impression. It generally means that later that impression changed. I initially thought the course would be easy, but it became much more challenging after the first week. I initially thought. It means it was a mistaken first impression. So I thought the course would be easy, it could stay there. If I say, I initially thought the course would be easy, but it became more challenging after the first week. I initially thought the course would be easy is implying that now it's not easy. The company initially planned to launch the project in June, but production delays pushed the date back to September. So there's an earlier intention that later changed. When I put the word initially into a sentence, I'm generally going to have a different outcome. I initially thought this, but then later it changed. She was initially reluctant to join the team, but she quickly became one of the most enthusiastic members. So we're initially reluctant, and then later it changes. Early resistance that developed into acceptance. We have this idea again where our first impressions or our first thoughts change. The cause of the problem was initially unclear, so the engineers conducted several tests before finding the solution. It's initially unclear, so it lacked information at the beginning, and then later we learned some stuff. It can talk about temporary success. For example, the project was initially successful. If I stop right there, I want to know more. Why did you say initially? You could have just said the project was successful, and now there's no question. But if I say the project was initially successful, then I'm wondering what happens later. So, attracting thousands of users during its first month. Initially successful, woo-hoo! But then we're waiting. Positive early results, often implying that later results may differ. Some common collocations with initially are, I initially planned. That means that later my plans changed. I initially thought, or I initially believed. I initially intended. I was initially reluctant, but then I saw how good it was. Initially difficult. Initially successful, or I was initially opposed, then I came around. Initially unclear, or initially interested. These are all things that are initially, and then later something can change. Our minds can change. The opposite of initially would probably be eventually. That means after a while. So initially would be at the beginning of the process. Eventually is at the end of the process. Initial is the first of your name or the beginning of something. The initial idea was this. Again, it's that things have changed. The verb is initiate. And to initiate someone is to bring them into a group or something. It means to teach them what the group is about. Sometimes an initiation, that's another noun here. An initiation is maybe ceremonial. The adjective is initial, and when we're using it as an initial, as the adjective, then we're going to have another noun after here. It's usually some kind of an idea. So the initial idea was to create a channel where people could learn all kinds of English. And then it changed to be a channel that teaches just vocabulary. Because there are a lot of grammar channels out there, right? But there are fewer vocabulary channels. And in my opinion, vocabulary is more important than grammar. Initially is the adverb. Initially, I thought I'd create a channel that taught English. Then eventually I narrowed that scope to just vocabulary. Although in my lessons, I often teach bits of grammar and reading techniques, all sorts of things, initially. I really hope that you enjoyed this word. Research shows that if you know 3,000 words, then you can pretty much say anything you need to say. I hope I'll see you tomorrow, and please like and subscribe.